Hi guys, Rob Lambert here with Asset Protection Training. Today I want to talk about what a perfect plan looks like. I want to do it quickly, and it's something you should all watch even if you don't intend to do a plan now. I'm going to give you the characteristics of a typical plan, what you always need to consider no matter who does it, and I'm going to do it quickly, and I'm going to do it in a way that hopefully you can take with you and remember for the rest of your life. What's a perfect asset protection plan? Well, a perfect asset protection plan has 4 characteristics. I use this little tool, I use the word stop, because I think of stopping creditors. And this isn't everything, but these are the 4 key characteristics of any plan, no matter whether you're paying somebody $50,000 to do it for you, or you're doing it yourself and spending $2,500. Almost every single good plan will have these characteristics. First characteristic, it will allow you to stay in control. You always should stay in control. Sometimes you will have to share control if you're really in trouble, meaning have a protector or an offshore lawyer on accounts with you. But in the normal situation, and you should always do plans when you're not in trouble, normally when you're not under the gun, you will always be in 100% control. Second, you should trust nobody. Assume every single person you deal with is a crook. They're going to prove you right. You're going to come across people who are crooked, who steal money, and you want to avoid them if you can, but you can't be perfect. So never structure your affairs so that you're forced to trust somebody unless you choose to trust them. That's one of my rules, and you need to follow it or you will get hurt. Third, off balance sheet. That's just a way of saying own nothing. The first rule of asset protection is what you do not own cannot be taken from you. Almost all asset protection functions by taking protected assets off of your balance sheet. Remember the Rockefellers, own nothing and control everything. And the final characteristic is most countries that are worth going to for your trust, maybe not for your accounts, but for your trusts, have protective legislation. You normally don't need protective legislation, and sometimes we start in places without protective legislation to either save money or keep it simple. But when you're in trouble, you will always want to be in one of the several jurisdictions that offer excellent protective legislation. Now, what are the 4 components of a perfect asset protection plan? Well, the first one is an asset protection trust. This site has over 50 articles on that right now. But trusts are a key element, and they're the business entity that takes the assets off of your balance sheet. Most asset protection plans will also use an LLC. Not always necessary, but it's the easiest way to stay in control when you have an offshore trust run by an offshore trust company. I'll soon show you why. The third component will be an offshore account. And the fourth component will be, in some cases, a domestic family limited partnership. This is irrelevant for non-U.S. citizens. Non-U.S. citizens will just do the first 3, but for U.S. citizens, they will want, in many cases, the 4th component. Now, what do they look like? Let's start with the trust. This is a typical trust. It has a settlor. That's you, this little red guy. Throughout these diagrams, the red guy is always you, the client. You will almost always have an offshore trust company. This trust company location will determine the laws that apply to you. That's not part of this lecture, but you'll have an offshore trust company. You'll always have a protector. A protector can be you, it can be an offshore lawyer, an offshore protector. There's companies that specialize in this. And it will have classes of beneficiaries. This will normally include you, the client, the little red guy over here. Normally, the beneficiaries will include the client and any other categories of people that the client wants to benefit. Everything will be controlled by this trust company, not the settlor. And the problem is that this trust company is in control of this trust. Sometimes I do kinetic trusts where I keep my client also as a co-trustee with the offshore trustee here, but that is beyond the scope of what any of you should consider for a perfect trust. That's unique. That's a unique situation that requires much more specialization than you need for a rock-solid trust. That's probably overkill for 95% of you out there. This is the first component. This gets you started. This is enough for many people. You can actually use this asset protection trust to hold things like gold, If you had a whole bunch of dinar, you wouldn't need anything else because you take physical possession of the dinar. It's a good way to get assets off your balance sheet. But this alone is normally not good enough because this trust company up here has control of the assets in this trust, and therefore this person, the settlor, is vulnerable to this trust company. This trust company can steal these assets. How do you avoid that? Well, simple. You put an offshore LLC in place. The offshore LLC can be either in the same jurisdiction as the trust or any place that has offshore LLCs, or IBCs function as LLCs. Every jurisdiction is different. This entity can be passed through. It's normally a disregarded entity when it's a single person, but you can also have it treated as a corporation. You can elect to have it treated as a partnership. You have a great deal of flexibility, and indeed underneath this LLC you can put hundreds of other entities. You can have corporations, which might be controlled foreign corporations. You can have partnerships. You can have any offshore entity you want, all owned under this offshore LLC or under this trust. It's a great way to do what? To keep you, this little red guy, in control of the assets, because when you put the LLC in place, you no longer use the Asset Protection Trust to hold assets. Assets are held down here, owned by the APT, but where is control? Control is with this little red guy who happens to be you. This little red guy is the manager of the offshore LLC. And this is the best way to keep you completely in control of an offshore investment, including an offshore bank account. Because what do you normally do with this offshore LLC? Simple. Boom, you add an offshore bank account. You go get an offshore bank account. It does not have to be in the jurisdiction of the APT or the offshore LLC. And as many of you know, and those of you who've been listening to me have had it drummed into your head, many banks, and soon to be most banks, are stopping accepting accounts from U.S. citizens. Hong Kong Shanghai Bank in Singapore last week said they're just simply not going to take them. There are many banks, Barclays, almost every bank you name is no longer wanting U.S. citizens. And it's in large part because of the legislation that becomes effective in 2013, forcing these banks to be transparent to the IRS and basically account to the IRS for your deposits. And if the bank is not transparent, there's a 30% tax. That may be challenged, that may be thrown out, but by putting this LLC in place, we really overcome a lot of those objections. You'll find that the same banks that won't take you when you're trying to go there as a single human being, or if you're a trustee of your own trust going there, they won't take you. But when you have an offshore asset protection trust owning an LLC, the banks somehow seem to be able to be comfortable that that's enough removal that they will accept the accounts. At least right now, it's working well. Now, that's all most people need. The only thing they could ever need more is, boom, a domestic family limited partnership. Notice this partnership, this little green thing here, is in the United States. This little yellow line is the line between safe, which is offshore, and dangerous, which is onshore. U.S. is less protected than anything offshore. Why? Because no country in the world recognizes U.S. judgments, and anything over here is virtually impossible for a U.S. creditor to get to without spending a huge amount of money, and even then it's doubtful that they can be successful. This is a typical situation, and note with the assets held in the domestic family limited partnership, we still keep you, the settlor, over here in control of this. So you're just functioning as the general partner. The general partner has 100% control over this partnership. And look, the Asset Protection Trust has 99 to 100% ownership with zero control. So what does this partnership really do? It separates ownership, which is with this trust, from control, which is with you, the general partner. This structure really holds up. It is tax neutral. It won't increase your taxes and it won't decrease your taxes. You can make numerous tax elections to change your tax treatment. Basically, you have all the flexibility and freedom as a normal human being investing offshore. You can do insurance type investing. You can even form an insurance company and eliminate the tax on your interest in dividends and capital gains. All legally, all with full disclosure to the government. All of that can be done in this simple little structure. And this simple little structure will work for 95 to 98% of the human beings who need asset protection. And I don't care whether you're spending $50,000 or $2,500, these are the keys that you need to look for. Now, you can see the 4 parts of a perfect asset protection plan. Remember this, and just remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a life-changing event. This is a process and a choice for you to sleep well at night and no longer be vulnerable to people who want to take you apart. Now, remember, just remember, because a lot of you aren't going to do plans, but just remember 10 years from now when your spouse tells you they're going to divorce you, or your business partner comes in and says he's about ready to, tear you apart because he thinks you cheated him or you were bad to him. Remember these 4 stop characteristics. Stay in control. Trust no one. Make sure everything that's protected is off of your balance sheet so that you no longer own it. And make sure, if you're really getting in trouble, that you're availing yourself of the numerous countries that have protective legislation. I believe that these are the key elements to anybody who wants to protect themselves in the long run. Do this and you will sleep well at night. You will no longer be vulnerable. You can take control of your own life, and you can stop the professional takers from being able to abuse you and knock you around. You never have to take it anymore, and that's what I'm trying to give you, is the tools to stop being beat up and to take control of your own destiny. Thank you very much. See you soon.